Hey guys, it's Mike, and in today's video tutorial, we'll be going over functional chaining in TypeScript. Now, I'll be doing this using a factory function versus a class, so if you're looking to do this with a function-based approach, then this is the video for you. Now, what I hope for you to take from this video by the end of it and after you see us write it out from scratch is not only being able to write the function properly, but also to be able to effectively use functional chaining to invoke your methods off the same object instance and be able to write the right TypeScript types so that when you do write in TypeScript, you're not worrying about all the type errors firing off. You'll have this all set and good to go. Now, the pros to this, guys, by functional chaining, if you not already try this yourself using a class or maybe through another video, would be how organized it looks. I mean, when you set this up, you can literally invoke multiple methods off the same object instance and it looks super clean. Your code base will look much better for it. Your colleagues or your teammates or whomever you're writing with will love you for it. And it really makes you a better programmer and helps you understand what's going on in one line. So with that said, let's jump right into it. I'm going to create my first function. We're going to call this car. What we'll do is actually make this as if we were creating this for, say, a dealership to update whatever inventory we have as far as cars, what the make is, model, color, and maybe even quantity or inventory. All right. So with that said, I'm going to actually create two methods here. One to keep track of the make of the car and to set that, and also to save it. One method will be called save, so that we can use this to chain at the very end to act as a console log. All right, so we can log this to our console to see if the changes that we did make are actually holding up true. So here goes the first one. We'll call this set make. Next one. All right, perfect. Now we're going to need to actually be able to keep track of when we call these set make methods. We need our car function, right, to keep track of these changes in memory. So we'll call this let, and we'll call this vehicle make, right? Sound good? And then here for make, we'll pass in make. And if we do call set make and pass in the actual make, maybe it might be a Honda or Toyota, then we'll go ahead and update our local memory, right, for vehicle make with that value. And then of course, in order for us to make set make functional, and well, to make it chainable, sorry, we'll go ahead and return this. All right, now from there we'll console log inside of save if we do call it, and we'll use the template literal to show us our new changes, right? So we'll go ahead and we'll just tell it vehicle make, and we'll just say here new car created, or just like this, to show us our changes. Now we can't actually make it yet. We can't create the instance of car just because we need to make sure that set make and save both need to be public. So as you know, in class, right, in a class, you would be either private or public, and you can of course make the new instance of a car and then go from there. Now here in a function, we'll have to actually return whatever we return will act as a public, right? So whatever we return can be set off our instance. So here we'll say set make, and then here we'll use save. Okay, and now these can be used, and we can check that out here. So we'll actually call car and store it inside of a variable called new car. And anytime we now call new car and try to access any one of our public methods, they should be available. So let's try that now. New car dot. Now you can see save or set make. So far everything's working just fine as we set it. We'll go ahead and we'll call set make. We will give it, let's give it a Toyota, right? And we will then save this information. You can think of the save method to be something you would use maybe in a real world scenario when you would create this car function, or maybe it's a person or an animal or whatever you have, right? And save would actually be the last thing you would want to use in your chain. And we would do that just because we would want to either use this method to maybe send it to maybe the API, right? You might want to make a request, save to a database, or do really anything with it. So that's kind of why we have this here. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and create one more method. That way we can see and play with if this actually does work, if we want to chain two different chainable methods. Okay, so we'll make one more method and we'll put it right here. We'll call this set model, create as a function, and we're going to pretty much did what we made up here, set make, and we update our local memory and return this. First, we need a way to keep track of the model, right? So we'll just call this let vehicle model, right? And as soon as model as an argument, as soon as that's given, we will take vehicle model and we will update it with the argument, right? Okay. And then of course, since we'll want to make set model chainable, we will of course return this. Now, the last step here would be to make this available as a public method. And now we should be able to chain set model, right? And add, let's say, Toyota Tacoma. And we'll save this, right? Now, before we save this and check our terminal, we will first add it so that we can both see both the vehicle make and the vehicle model. We'll add it here as well. Okay, great. So now I'm going to save it and let's see if we get anything outputted into the terminal. Okay. There we go. New car created, Toyota Tacoma. There's no such car named that, so we'll change that to Tacoma. There we go. Perfect. Wow, that worked great. Now, let's go back, and now that we know that the chaining using a function can work, let's just go ahead and try to see if it will work putting this before set make. All right, let's clear this. Let's save. Yeah, it still worked. So you can see that how effective and how nice setting up your code base to use functional chaining, because you can use the same object instance to invoke these methods all on one line. So I mean, this looks already, as you can tell, so much nicer than having to say new car set model, right, something, right, and then obviously new car dot set make, right? This is kind of the old way, right, without of course chaining. This is like, it's redundant. This will save your code base a lot of redundancy, like I said before. So chaining, doing it this way is just so much cleaner, so much more expressive, and will make you look like a really pro dev. So definitely keep this in mind. You know, it'd be really great to have in your code base as well. So, all right, with that said, we should now try to add our TypeScript, because up until now we don't have any TypeScript types. I mean, we could really pass into set model a number. We can set an array. We can do whatever we want, and we don't want that. You know, if we're going to expose, especially car, to say another module, we don't want to forget or even begin putting just bad data into this car instance. You know, we want to be able to put the right data in. So that's really the purpose of doing it in TypeScript. So the way I do it in TypeScript is by using interfaces. Interfaces is just a very clean way of setting up your function to make sure that the right types are there in place. Okay, so with that said, first thing what I do is look at our first function, right? It's a car function. We're looking to return a couple of things, 3 different methods. So with that said, we're going to come up here. I'm going to write my first interface, and I'm going to call this car respectively to our main function, right? And we're going to open it up, and we're going to define this as a function that takes no arguments, right? That's empty. And it's going to return an object, right, of 3 methods. So I'm going to call this a new car, right? So, and you know, it makes a lot of sense, because new car, right? Anytime we run car and we, you know, create it, we're setting a make, a model, and, you know, everything that would make up a new car. So it, respectively, you know, this naming convention is pretty good. All right. So with that said, we got to define new car now, right? So we'll do this here by creating another interface called new car. And with that, we're going to look at a return statement, right? And we're going to define our returns as they are here. So first, we'll start with set make. Set make takes 1 argument, which is the make. And here we'll specifically state that it must be a string, right? Okay, great. Now, from here, we'll say that it's going to return. Well, what does it return, right? Well, we know that it returns this, but this can be set make, and it can set make can return any other function, because remember, we're chaining, right? That's the point of this whole car function, is that we can return itself, and we can continue to return more functions, right? All off on one line, invoke them all. So technically what we would put here is the new car object, right? And if it doesn't seem clear, you'll see it make a little more sense as we declare the rest. Okay, so the next one is set model. So again, set model, this one will be obviously the model argument, string as well, and it has to return a new car. Okay, so now, oops, little error there. So now you'll see that this makes a little more sense now, because if new car can return new car, then yes, if I call set make, I should be able to call set make again if I want to override it. Wouldn't make much sense to do so, but you can. And or call set model, right? Like we do here. Set model can return set make, and finally return save. So yes, that's exactly what we want. That's exactly how we want our types to be set up here. All right, so we have one more method, which is save, right? And because it's just a console log, we're going to return void. And as you can see, there's no arguments here, right? And that will be it for now. We have our type set up, and let's just kind of recap here. So interface, right? Our car will return car, right? or sorry, will return a new car. And finally, the new car is expressed, or at least set, to return a set make, set model, and save. Set make and set model can both return new car, right? But because it's chainable, we should be able to return any one of these again. Obviously, not save void, as void shall be the last one to be called once you put save or call save in the chain line, right? That's pretty much it. You can't add set make after this, because once this is put, that will be what you're going to take all that data now, right, from the object instance, and you're going to do something with it. So there's really no point to return new car here, right? It's kind of a way for you to make sure that it's used appropriately. So with that said, we can save this, right? And well, before we save it and we actually check it here, we need to look at const car, and we need to set car to our interface of car, and anything that we have connected on the return for the function will be made true as the blueprint for our function all the way down. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's see if this is actually true. We'll save this, come back to our terminal, and great, yeah, everything worked out fine, like Toyota Tacoma, and we didn't get any TypeScript errors. So that's great. So what would a TypeScript error look like, right, if, say, we didn't do it correctly? Well, let's check this out. We're going to add here one more. Well, you know what? Let's add it below this. Let's add it as set color, right? And we're going to take a color. Make sure to add our variable to keep track of it, right? And here we will, of course, when we get it, we'll take vehicle color, update it with color, and finally return this, as we want set color to be chainable. We'll then make it public, right? Set color. And then what we'll do is we will try to add it. Let's add it right in the middle, right? Set color. Oops. Well, actually, you can actually see it here. Oh, well, it's not here yet because TypeScript, yes, it's not part of the blueprint here for new cars. So we actually won't see it, but we will call it and see what happens. So set color, and we will make the Toyota Tacoma green. Okay, so if you already see this, it's saying that set color does not exist on type new car, which is great because, you know, it's already saying here that, yes, you're right, it doesn't exist, right? So it can't be chained, you know? Like if we didn't have TypeScript, if we removed car, it's not going to worry about it, right? Because there's no longer any type checking happening. But if we bring it back, then we did not tell it that it's a part of the return. So therefore, it cannot be called. And that's exactly what we want from TypeScript. We want it to make sure that it's strict, you know, that we can't add things that we hadn't already added to our type check, okay? So let's fix this, right? Let's go up to our interface and we're going to add set color. And we're going to create or set that, yes, there is an argument of color and this has to be a string. And because it is chainable, it has to be able to return or have the option at least to return any one of these methods. So we'll come down. As you can see here, the error has removed itself. And we'll test this now in our terminal. We'll clear this and we'll save. Come back to our terminal, and boom, it worked. Now, we forgot one thing. We didn't add color to output in our save method, so let's come back and let's add this. So vehicle, okay, great, color, right? Let's save that. and boom, Toyota Tacoma green. And it's great because that's why the save method is so important, because the save method, no matter what or how you chain your methods, right, from that one object instance, it's going to be just fine, because your save method is going to make sure that it's going to do the right thing with that information, right? So this is just a great way of setting up a chainable, a chainable instance of an object. Okay, so there's one more part to this I wanted to go over with you guys. You can, of course, if you wish to, you can, of course, add arguments to the top level function, right? So here, you can easily say vehicle make, right? And you can have this as an argument. We'll make sure that TypeScript is prepared for this. But what you can do, right, is change this to vehicle equal vehicle make, right? Vehicle make. And what we can do now is down here in car, you see it's kind of upset because it's saying expected 1 arguments but got 0. We can actually give it a preset argument already. So we can just put this Honda, right? Not even set model. Okay. And we can save this. Let's clear my terminal real fast. And we can save this, right? And without implicitly setting what our make is, by saving it and coming back to terminal. Okay, so we got an undefined. So let me see what I did wrong here. So let's see that. So Toyota undefined. That's weird. Yes. Sorry, what I wanted to delete was set make, not set model, right? Because we don't have a default for the model. So, or sorry, the make. Or no, the model. So now we'll save this and we'll come back and boom. See, so we did not set the make here and it did give us back Honda Tacoma green. So that's perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. So you can, of course, set, and not even a mandatory default, but you could make it like just not mandatory. But you can do that by saying vehicle make, adding your question mark, right? So now if you save this and not add Honda, it doesn't care, right? But of course, if you don't, obviously you don't call set make in your function, you're going to get undefined, right? Kind of like that. Okay, perfect. Sweet. So let's leave that just like that, and let's come back and add the set make, and we'll call this a Honda, right? We'll change this to Civic and leave it like that. Double check that it works. Beautiful. Now, I want to show you how this would look if, of course, you wrote your module to kind of, because really when you write this stuff, guys, you're going to want to use it, the rest of your app probably. If you're using React or Vue, you're going to export this out and then use it in multiple places in your application, right? So that's fairly easy to do. First, we'll delete all this because we're not going to do it here. This is just to kind of, create our function to be able to make it chainable anywhere across our app. So what we'll do here instead is down here, we'll say export default car, right? And that'll make that available to the rest of our app. So I'm going to save that. We'll come over to index. And I'm actually going to import car from index, right? And what I'll do is initialize it here. So like I said back when we first started, we were going to try to treat this as if we were doing this for, like, say, a dealership. And I will initialize this as, let's say, a Honda, right? And I can say here that my car, right? And here I can actually pass it if I want, right? Now that vehicle make is optional, I can say that this car will definitely be a Honda, right? Now with that said, I can, oh, why is it still, okay, perfect. This is actually not from index, we're importing this from car, so perfect. And now we can say Honda dot, oh, and you see now that we actually imported it and, well, we exported it and now we imported it correctly, you're now able to call save, set color, set make, set model. You have all your methods that you had set up to be public, right? They're now available anywhere else in your app. So here you can easily say dot, let's do, well, we already have our make, right? So why don't we just set the model? We'll call this a Civic, right? We'll then set the color. I normally see a lot of black Civics around here, so we'll do black. And then we'll save, all right? And then we'll add one more Honda, right? We'll call this set model. I also see a lot of Accords here in LA, so we'll do that. Set color, and we'll set these to silver. For some reason, there are a lot of silver Accords here. And then we'll do save, right? And then we will test this. Before we can, I'm going to make sure that this is running off our index, right? TS. We'll come over to our index. We'll save this back to your hyper. Clear that instance. And boom, there we go. New car created, Honda Civic Black. New car created, Honda Accords Silver. That should be Accord, but you guys get the idea. You can see how clean this looks, right? Even if you had, say, like 3 functions and a class-based component here, however, whatever you're using this in, if it's React or just bare-bone JavaScript app, you can see how nice this keeps things and how flexible it is also in the same way. This looks easy to read, Honda, the model is set to Civic, set color is set to black. Say, even if I didn't know that Honda was an instance of a car, you can just look at this line of code and it's just so expressive. It shows you exactly what this is pertaining to, what it could pertain to, what it's probably doing. And that's the real payoff from functional chaining. And to layer that with TypeScript and to make sure that your types are really solid, this will help you, protect your code against bugs, getting the wrong data type put in, like a number. If we do end up adding like stock, we should not be able to pass in a string or even a Boolean, right? We should be able to pass in just an integer or a float or what have you. So that's functional chaining using the functional paradigm. If you guys found this video pretty valuable and informational, definitely guys comment, follow, and I'm going to do my best to read all the comments. I definitely have time to do that. So if you guys care to do it, definitely comment and let me know what you think. And I plan to have more videos like this within the next couple of weeks. I have a couple of other things that I want to get to, including a video on session-based authentication. I know it's a big thing using React projects. I want to get around to do that for you guys, if not in one whole video, at least in a couple of them that might help you guys really digest it. And I know authentication is a big deal when it comes to web applications and using JavaScript, so I think that will be a huge help for you guys. With that said, guys, thank you so much for your time, and yes, please follow and like, and I will create a new video soon. Thank you.